Have you ever wondered why the more you chase love, the more it seems to slip away? Why that feeling of neediness, of I need someone to complete me, seems to push away exactly what you desire most? If you feel stuck in a cycle of relationships that don't work, or if you feel a neediness you can't fill, this video was made for you. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover the truth nobody told you about attracting true love. Neediness is the biggest block to the connection you seek. I understand this pain, this feeling of emptiness that seems to scream for fulfillment. But what if I told you that you're already complete, that the love you're looking for begins within you? In this video, we'll explore Louise Hay's profound teachings on how to transform neediness into magnetism, how to stop chasing love and start attracting it naturally. And there will be a special moment where you can join our transformation community and consolidate this new energy of self-love. Get ready for a perspective shift that can transform not just your relationships, but your entire life. At the end, you'll have a powerful, practical exercise to begin your healing journey immediately. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn might be exactly what was missing to attract the soulmate you deserve. Shall we begin this journey together? Why you push love away? There's something deeply paradoxical about love. The more desperately you seek it, the more it seems to slip through your fingers. Louise Hay always reminded us that the energy we carry is like a beacon that attracts corresponding experiences. When you approach someone with an energy of neediness, with that sensation of emptiness that needs to be filled, you're unconsciously telling the universe and the other person that you're not complete. And you know what happens? People feel it. They may not be able to put it into words, but something inside them perceives that energy of need, and instinctively they pull back. Neediness works like an invisible weight in relationships. Think about how you feel when someone needs you too much, when every message carries a silent urgency, when every encounter seems to have the pressure of filling an emotional hole. It's suffocating, isn't it? Now imagine you might be doing this without realizing it. Emotional neediness creates an unbalanced power dynamic where you put the other person on a pedestal and place yourself in a position of inferiority. You begin to shape your behavior, your words, even your dreams around that person's approval. And in this process, you lose the essence of what truly attracts real love, your authenticity. According to Louise Hay, when we seek love from a place of emptiness, we're asking the other person to do work that only we can do for ourselves. No relationship, no matter how beautiful, can heal the wound of not loving yourself. No partner can fill the space that only your own love can occupy. When you approach love with neediness, you're essentially saying, I'm not enough alone, so I need you to make me feel complete. And that's too heavy a responsibility for any human being to carry. The healthiest relationships aren't formed by two halves seeking completeness, but by two whole people choosing to share their lives. The energy of neediness also attracts people who take advantage of it. Have you noticed how, when you're feeling vulnerable and needy, you seem to attract exactly the wrong type of person? This isn't coincidence. Emotionally unavailable people, manipulators, or those who also carry their own unhealed wounds are magnetically attracted to those who emanate need. They sense, consciously or unconsciously, that they can maintain control, that you won't leave easily, that your neediness keeps them in a position of power. Louise Hay taught us that the universe always responds to our internal vibration. If your vibration says, I need someone to save me, you'll attract situations that reflect exactly that. So what do you do with this awareness? First, recognize with gentleness, I am learning to love myself completely. Don't judge yourself for having felt neediness in the past. We've all been there, seeking outside what could only be found within. Transformation begins when you decide to stop looking for someone to fill your voids and start asking yourself, how can I become the person I'm looking for? When you shift your energy from neediness to completeness, when you become someone who wants to share love instead of extracting it, everything changes. And it's exactly about this transformation that we're going to talk about next. The lie they told you, the biggest lie society told us, is that we need another person to feel complete. Since childhood, you've been bombarded with stories of princes and princesses, of soulmates who meet and finally become whole. Movies, songs, books, all repeating the same narrative. You're incomplete until you find the right person. Louise Hay dedicated her life to dismantling this limiting belief, showing that completeness isn't something you find in another person, but something you cultivate within yourself. You're already whole. You always have been. The feeling of incompleteness isn't a truth about who you are, but a belief you learned and can unlearn. When you believe you need someone to feel complete, you give away your power. You place your happiness, your peace, your sense of worth in another person's hands. And what happens when that person doesn't act as you expected? When they don't respond to your messages quickly enough, when they need space, when they simply have a bad day, you fall apart. Your entire world shakes because you built your emotional foundation on quicksand. According to Louise Hay, this is one of the most painful ways to live, because you're constantly at the mercy of another person's actions and moods. Your inner peace becomes hostage to external factors you can't control. Think of Sarah, a 32-year-old woman who spent her entire life jumping from relationship to relationship. Every time one ended, she felt like a part of her had been ripped away. She couldn't be alone for more than a few weeks before desperately seeking another connection. One day, after yet another painful breakup, she asked herself, "Why am I so afraid of being with myself?" That question changed everything. She realized she had spent so much time seeking completeness in other people that she had never really known herself. She didn't know who she was without someone by her side. And it was in that moment of brutal honesty that her true healing journey began. The completeness you seek won't come from finding the perfect person. It comes from becoming your own best friend, your own safe harbor, your own source of love. Louise Hay taught us that when you truly love yourself, when you treat yourself with the kindness and respect you deserve, you stop looking for someone to fill voids. You begin looking for someone to share your fullness. And this energy shift changes everything. Relationships stop being about need and become about choice. You don't need someone, you choose someone. And that choice comes from a place of strength, not weakness. Allow yourself to feel, I am complete and whole exactly as I am right now. This doesn't mean you can't desire a relationship. Of course you can. The desire for connection, for intimacy, for sharing your life with someone is deeply human and beautiful. But there's a huge difference between desiring something and desperately needing it to feel valid. When you recognize your own completeness, you approach love from a place of abundance, not scarcity. You have so much love within you that it naturally overflows and you want to share it. And that energy, dear one, is irresistible. But before we understand how this energy works, we need to look at something even deeper about how relationships really work. Now, let's consolidate this powerful learning. If this content is touching your heart and you feel like you're beginning to see love in a completely new way, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue this transformation journey with me. Leave a like if you're committed to cultivating true self-love, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. And tell me in the comments, what was the biggest insight you've had so far? What resonated most with you about this idea of completeness? Your participation strengthens our community of healing and love. The revealing mirror relationships are perfect mirrors. They reflect back to you exactly what you believe about yourself, what you feel you deserve, and the level of love you have for yourself. Louise Hay always reminded us that the external world is a direct reflection of our internal world. If you don't respect yourself, you'll attract people who don't respect you. If you treat yourself with criticism and harshness, you'll attract partners who do the same. If you don't believe you deserve unconditional love, you'll find people who offer conditional love, full of demands and restrictions. This isn't punishment from the universe, it's simply the law of attraction in action. You can't attract something that's on a different frequency than yours. Often, we look at our failed relationships and blame the other person. He was a narcissist. She was emotionally unavailable. They didn't know how to value me. And maybe all of that is true. But the most important question, the one that truly leads to transformation, is, what within me attracted this person? What did I believe about myself that made me accept this treatment? According to Louise Hay, this isn't a question to make you feel guilty, but to empower you. Because if you attracted it, you also have the power to attract something completely different. You just need to change the internal frequency first. Think of Michael, a man who always found himself attracting women who were critical and controlling. He didn't understand why. He was kind, attentive, always trying to please. But when he started therapy and looked honestly at himself, he realized something painful. He had an extremely critical inner voice. He never felt good enough, was always judging himself, always thinking he needed to do more to deserve love. And then, of course, he attracted women who externalized exactly that criticism he was already doing to himself. The relationship was just a mirror of the relationship he had with himself. When he began treating himself with more compassion, when he began accepting himself, something magical happened. He stopped attracting that type of person. The mirror of relationships also shows your unhealed wounds. If you have an abandonment wound, you'll attract situations that activate that wound until you heal it. If you have a fear of not being loved, you'll attract people who are inconsistent in their affection. This isn't cruelty from the universe, it's wisdom. Louise Hay taught us that the universe is constantly trying to show us where we need to heal, where we need to grow. Every difficult relationship is an opportunity to look within and ask, what is this teaching me about myself? When you stop seeing relationships as something that happens to you and start seeing them as mirrors that reflect you, everything changes. Take a deep breath and affirm, I deserve healthy love and I attract relationships that reflect my self-love. So if you want to change the type of person you attract, you need to change who you are internally. You need to heal your relationship with yourself first. When you love yourself deeply, when you respect yourself, when you establish healthy boundaries and don't accept less than you deserve, you automatically begin attracting people who operate on the same frequency. You stop tolerating behaviors you once accepted. You stop settling for crumbs of affection. And people who aren't aligned with this new version of you simply can't remain in your life anymore. But to get there, you need to understand something crucial about the nature of what you're really seeking, hunger or choice. There's a fine but crucial line between genuinely desiring a relationship and desperately needing one to feel valid. Many people confuse these two energies, but they're completely different and produce completely opposite results. Healthy desire comes from a place of fullness, where you already feel good about yourself and want to share that joy with someone special. Toxic neediness comes from a place of emptiness, where you believe you'll only be happy, only be complete, only have value when someone chooses you. Louise Hay always taught us to recognize the difference between these two energies, because one liberates you and the other imprisons you. When you operate from healthy desire, you approach relationships with curiosity and openness. You're interested in getting to know someone, in discovering if there's compatibility, in seeing if your values align. You're not trying to force a connection or make someone like you. You're simply being yourself and seeing what naturally develops. But when you operate from toxic neediness, every interaction carries enormous weight. You analyze every message, every gesture, looking for signs that you're loved or rejected. You change who you are to fit what you think the other person wants. You lose sleep worrying if you said the right thing, if you acted the right way. According to Louise Hay, this constant anxiety is a clear sign that you're seeking external validation instead of trusting your own worth. Think about how you feel when you're hungry versus when you're satisfied. When you're starving, you eat anything quickly without really savoring. You're not choosing wisely, you're just trying to fill the void. But when you've eaten well and are satisfied, you can look at a menu and choose something that truly appeals to you, something that complements what you already have. The same dynamic applies to relationships. When you're emotionally starving, you accept any attention, any crumb of affection, any person who shows interest. You're not really choosing, you're just trying to fill the void. But when you're emotionally nourished, when you already give yourself the love you need, you can choose with clarity and wisdom. Toxic neediness also manifests in specific behaviors you can recognize. Do you obsessively check your phone waiting for a message? Do you feel panic when someone doesn't respond immediately? Do you abandon your plans, your friends, your interests as soon as someone shows romantic interest? Do you catch yourself fantasizing about a future with someone you barely know? Do you ignore obvious red flags because you're so invested in the idea of having someone? Louise Hay taught us that these are all signs that you're operating from a place of need, not healthy desire. And the good news is that once you recognize these patterns, you can begin to change them. Allow yourself to affirm gently, I release the need to control, love, and trust in the natural flow of true connections. Healthy desire, on the other hand, is light. You want a relationship, but your happiness doesn't depend on it. You're open to love, but you're not desperate for it. You can appreciate someone's company without immediately projecting your entire future onto that person. You can feel attraction without losing your identity. You can be interested without being obsessed. This is the energy that truly attracts lasting and healthy love. But to reach this place of healthy desire, you first need to understand where neediness comes from. And that's exactly what we're going to explore next, because healing begins when you look at the roots of the pattern. Soon, we're going to dive into a powerful practical exercise that will help you transform this energy. Stay with me for this transformative experience. Roots of neediness. Neediness doesn't come from nowhere. It has deep roots, usually planted in childhood or in past experiences that taught you that you weren't enough as you were. Perhaps you grew up in a home where love was conditional, where you only received attention when you behaved a certain way or achieved certain results. Perhaps you experienced abandonment, rejection, or neglect that left you with a void you've been trying to fill ever since. Louise Hay always reminded us that most of our limiting beliefs about love and worthiness were formed before we were 5 years old. You absorbed messages about who you were and what you deserved, and those messages became the lens through which you see all relationships. These wounds create patterns that repeat until you consciously choose to heal them. If you were abandoned by a parent, you might find yourself attracting emotionally unavailable partners. unconsciously recreating the same dynamic to try to fix what wasn't resolved. If you grew up feeling you had to earn love through achievements or perfect behavior, you might find yourself in relationships where you're constantly trying to prove your worth. If you were criticized or shamed as a child, you might seek partners who validate your existence because you never learned to validate yourself. According to Louise Hay, these patterns aren't character flaws, they're simply unhealed wounds asking for attention and love. Think of Jennifer, who always found herself in relationships where she gave much more than she received. She was the person who was always available, always doing favors, always putting her partner's needs above her own, and yet she never felt truly loved. When she began exploring her childhood wounds, she realized her mother had been emotionally distant, and the only time Jennifer received attention was when she took care of her younger siblings or helped with household chores. She learned that her value was in being useful, in serving, and she carried that pattern into all her adult relationships. Healing began when she realized she didn't need to earn love, that she deserved love simply for existing. Healing these wounds requires courage to look honestly at your past without judgment. It's not about blaming your parents or the people who hurt you. They did the best they could with the consciousness they had. It's about recognizing how those experiences shaped you and consciously choosing to create new beliefs. Louise Hay taught us that we can become the loving parents we perhaps didn't have. We can give ourselves the validation, the acceptance, the unconditional love we didn't receive. When you begin doing this inner work, when you begin nurturing the wounded child within you, something profound transforms. You stop seeking in others what only you can give yourself. Take a deep breath and feel, I heal my past wounds with love and compassion, and I free myself from patterns that no longer serve me. Healing doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, a journey of layers. You might think you've healed something, and then a situation arises that shows you there's more work to do, and that's okay. Be gentle with yourself in this process. Every time you recognize an old pattern and choose to respond differently, you're healing. Every time you give yourself the love you used to seek outside, you're healing. Every time you establish a healthy boundary or choose your peace instead of a toxic relationship, you're healing. And as you heal, you naturally begin emanating a different energy, an energy that attracts something completely new. But this transformation requires something specific from you, something we're going to explore deeply now. The invisible foundation self-love isn't an abstract concept or an optional luxury. It's the foundation upon which all healthy relationships are built. Louise Hay dedicated her life to teaching that you can't give what you don't have, and you can't receive what you don't believe you deserve. If you don't love yourself, if you don't treat yourself with kindness and respect, you won't be able to recognize true love when it appears. You'll reject it, sabotage it, or simply not see it because it doesn't match your internal programming. Self-love isn't selfishness. It isn't arrogance. It isn't thinking you're better than others. It's simply recognizing your inherent worth as a human being and treating yourself according to that worth. Cultivating self-love begins with small daily acts of kindness toward yourself. It's the way you talk to yourself when you make a mistake. It's allowing yourself to rest when you're tired instead of pushing yourself to exhaustion. It's choosing foods that nourish your body, not as punishment or restriction, but as an act of care. It's establishing boundaries with people who drain your energy, even if that's uncomfortable. It's saying no when you want to say no, instead of contorting yourself to please everyone. According to Louise Hay, every small choice you make in favor of your well-being is a brick in the foundation of self-love. And over time, these bricks build something solid and unshakable. Think of David, who spent years in relationships where he felt small and insignificant. He always put others' needs first, always apologized for things that weren't his fault, always accepted treatment that made him feel bad. One day, he decided to do something different. He began practicing affirmations every morning, looking at himself in the mirror and saying, "I love and approve of myself exactly as I am." At first, it felt fake, even ridiculous. But he persisted, and slowly, something began to change. He began noticing when people disrespected him. He began speaking up for himself. He began making choices that honored his needs. And the most incredible thing, the people who used to take advantage of him simply disappeared from his life, and new people, who treated him with respect, began appearing. Self-love also means making peace with your past and forgiving yourself for the mistakes you made. Do you carry guilt about relationships that didn't work out? About choices you made when you didn't know better? About staying in toxic situations for too long? Louise Hay taught us that holding on to guilt and shame is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It only hurts you. Forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, is one of the greatest acts of self-love you can practice. You did the best you could with the consciousness you had at that moment. Now you know more. Now you can do differently. Allow yourself to feel deeply. I forgive myself for all the times I didn't love myself enough, and I choose to love myself completely from now on. When you truly cultivate self-love, when it becomes part of your being and not just something you practice occasionally, you become a magnet for healthy love. You stop accepting crumbs because you know you deserve the complete feast. You stop tolerating disrespect because your self-respect doesn't allow it. You stop losing yourself in relationships because you have a solid sense of who you are. And people feel this. They feel your energy of self-worth and respond accordingly. You attract people who also love themselves, who have also done the inner work, who are ready for a relationship based on mutual love, not mutual need. And this energy of self-love creates something magnetic that we're going to explore next. Real magnetic energy. There's something deeply attractive about a person who is well with themselves. Someone who doesn't need constant validation, who isn't desperately looking for someone to complete them, who has their own life, their own interests, their own joy. This emotional self-sufficiency doesn't mean you don't want connection or intimacy. It means you don't need them to survive emotionally. Louise Hay always reminded us that when you become emotionally self-sufficient, when you are your own source of love and approval, you radiate an energy that is magnetically attractive. People want to be near you because your energy is light, free, inspiring. You're not pulling energy from others, you're emanating your own light. Emotional self-sufficiency means you can be alone without feeling lonely. You appreciate your own company. You have hobbies that fill you with joy, friendships that nourish you, purposes that motivate you. Your life is rich and complete, with or without a romantic partner. And when you live this way, when you truly embrace your own company, something interesting happens. You stop seeking relationships from a place of desperation and begin evaluating them from a place of discernment. You ask yourself, does this person add value to my already wonderful life, or are they taking away my peace? According to Louise Hay, this shift in perspective completely changes the type of relationship you attract and accept. Think of Rachel, a woman who always feared being alone. She jumped from relationship to relationship, never giving herself time to simply be with herself. When her last relationship ended, she decided to do something different. She decided to stay single intentionally for a year. At first it was terrifying. She didn't know what to do with herself. But slowly, she began discovering herself. She started painting, something she always wanted to do but never had time for. She traveled alone for the first time. She deepened her friendships, and at the end of that year, she realized something incredible. She was genuinely happy. She didn't need a relationship to feel complete. And it was exactly at that moment, when she stopped looking, that she met someone truly special. Emotional self-sufficiency also protects you from toxic relationships. When you don't need someone to feel good, you can see clearly when a relationship isn't serving you. You don't get stuck out of fear of being alone, because you know that being alone isn't something to fear. You don't tolerate bad behaviors because you prefer your own peace to a problematic relationship. Louise Hay taught us that when you're emotionally self-sufficient, you set higher standards. You don't accept just anything. You wait for something that truly resonates with who you are. And you have the emotional strength to wait, because you're fine in the meantime. Feel in your heart, I am complete in myself, and I attract relationships that honor my self-sufficiency and fullness. This energy of self-sufficiency doesn't push away the right people. It attracts exactly who you need. Healthy people, who have also done their inner work, are attracted to this energy. They don't want someone who needs to be saved or who will lose themselves in the relationship. They want a partner, someone who stands beside them, not someone who depends on them for emotional survival. When two emotionally self-sufficient people meet, they create something beautiful, a relationship based on choice, not need. A relationship where both feel free to be who they truly are. And this type of relationship, built on this solid foundation, is what you deserve. But to truly attract this, you need to prepare your heart in a very specific way. Preparing your heart to receive healthy love is like preparing a garden to plant seeds. You can't simply throw seeds into soil full of weeds, stones, and compacted earth and expect something beautiful to grow. You need to clear the ground, nourish the soil, create the right conditions for something new to flourish. Louise Hay always taught us that many people say they want love, but their hearts are so full of hurt, resentment, fear, and limiting beliefs that there's no space for love to enter. Preparing your heart means doing a deep internal cleansing, releasing what no longer serves you, and creating sacred space for something new and healthy. This preparation begins with releasing past relationships energetically. Do you still carry anger toward an ex? Do you still fantasize about someone who hurt you? Do you still compare yourself with previous partners? While you maintain these energetic connections, you're not truly available for something new. It's like trying to fill a cup that's already full of old, stagnant water. According to Louise Hay, forgiveness is the most powerful tool for this release. Not forgiving because the other person deserves it, but forgiving to free yourself. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or saying what happened was right. It simply means releasing the emotional weight you've been carrying so you can move forward with lightness. Think of Marcus, who spent 5 years emotionally stuck on a relationship that had ended long ago. He said he wanted to find someone new, but every conversation eventually returned to his ex. He still checked her social media, still felt anger when he thought about how she had treated him. A friend finally told him, "You're not available for new love while you're still emotionally married to your anger." Those words woke him up. He realized he needed to do a release ritual. He wrote a letter to his ex, saying everything he needed to say, and then burned it. He didn't send it. It wasn't about her. It was about him freeing himself. And after that ritual, he felt like an enormous weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Preparing your heart also means identifying and transforming your limiting beliefs about love. Do you believe all men are the same? That all women will betray you? That you don't deserve true love? That healthy relationships don't exist? Louise Hay taught us that these beliefs function as filters that determine what you can see and attract. If you believe you don't deserve love, you'll unconsciously sabotage anything good that appears. If you believe everyone will hurt you, you'll protect yourself in ways that don't allow true intimacy. Identifying these beliefs and consciously choosing new ones is essential. Look at yourself in the mirror and declare with conviction, I deserve healthy, respectful, and reciprocal love, and I am open to receiving it now. Finally, preparing your heart means creating literal and figurative space in your life for a relationship. Are you so busy you wouldn't have time for someone even if they appeared? Is your home so full of memories from past relationships that there's no space for something new? Is your schedule so packed you don't have emotional energy to invest in getting to know someone? According to Louise Hay, the universe responds to your actions, not just your words. If you say you want love but don't create space for it, you're sending a mixed message. Clear out that drawer full of your ex's things. Take down that old photo from the wall. Reserve time in your schedule for possibilities. These physical acts signal to the universe that you're truly ready. And when your heart is prepared, when there's clean and sacred space, the right love finds its way to you naturally. Transformation ritual. Now that you've deeply understood how neediness blocks love and how self-love attracts it, it's time to transform this knowledge into lived experience. This exercise will help you reconnect with your own essence and create a new narrative about who you are and the love you deserve. Louise Hay deeply believed in the power of written words to reprogram our subconscious mind. How to do it? Find a quiet moment where you won't be interrupted. Get paper and pen, don't type. Handwriting creates a deeper connection. Light a candle if you want to create a sacred environment. Breathe deeply a few times, placing your hand on your heart, and allow yourself to enter a state of loving presence. Now, you're going to write a love letter to yourself, but not from who you are today. You're going to write as if you were your future self, the one who has already healed neediness, who has already cultivated deep self-love, who is already in a healthy relationship or completely happy with themselves. Write in first person, beginning with Dear Your Name, and allow this wise and loving future self to speak to you. In this letter, your future self should acknowledge and validate the struggles you're going through now. Thank you for all the inner work you're doing. Describe how life has changed since you stopped seeking love from a place of neediness. Share insights about what truly matters in relationships. Offer words of encouragement and wisdom. End with a powerful affirmation about your worth and deservingness. Write at least one full page, letting your heart guide the words. Don't censor, don't judge, just allow it to flow. When you finish, read the letter out loud to yourself, as if you were receiving these words from someone who loves you deeply and unconditionally. Keep this letter in a special place. Over the next 30 days, reread it every time you feel yourself falling into old patterns of neediness. Every time you catch yourself seeking external validation, every time you doubt your worth. Let the words from your future self guide you back to center, to self-love, to the remembrance of who you truly are. You can also write new letters whenever you feel the need, creating an ongoing loving dialogue with yourself. This exercise doesn't just transform how you see yourself, but literally reprograms your energy, making you a magnet for the love you deserve. Your new journey. Now you have in your hands the keys to completely transform your love journey. Remember, the love you seek isn't out there waiting to complete you. It already lives within you, waiting to be recognized and nurtured. Every step you take toward self-love, every moment you choose your own completeness instead of neediness, you're becoming a magnetic force for the true and healthy love you deserve. Be gentle with yourself in this journey. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. Every day you practice these teachings, you're planting seeds for a future where love flows naturally to you. Practice the exercise I shared with dedication and love, and observe how your energy changes, how people around you respond differently, how you begin attracting exactly what your heart has always desired. You are worthy of deep, respectful, and reciprocal love. Begin by giving that love to yourself and watch the magic happen.